Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. This is an interesting game between me and Oscar Mike here on Paddy Field, and I'm playing as the Dutch. But I wanted to show you guys this because it's been said before that I will kind of selectively choose the games that I cast, and yeah, that's true. I try to find ones that I enjoyed playing or were sent to me in community cast, things like that. But I don't want you guys to get the feeling that I only show you the best of what I do. So this game, I make a wide variety of mistakes, and I intend to tell you all of them because they're important and they're good things to know. And based on some of those mistakes, I've actually changed this deck just recently to make it better, to address some of the really critical shortfalls that it had that were exposed during this game. So we'll see that. And the first mistake I will just say is triple Ihakios. This is absurdly expensive to do off the start. The reason I'm doing it is partially because Oscar, Mike, and I have played once in a while before, and I did expect a heavy air presence. So that's why I have triple Hakios, and their intention is just to sit back and then absolutely dome piece any planes that are coming in. And the rest of the opener is going to be pretty standard. I have Huzao-Ren, I have some cheap infantry and AMX Prees over in the Alpha. Maybe a little bit of a heavier start there than some, but I wanted to just head off any sort of infantry push into Alpha. And we see a bunch of charioteers, some KTs, and this is where my initial deployment is going to be, well, questionably effective. So AMX 13 FL12s, of course, have really nice rate of fire, and sparring with KTs, we should get a pretty nice cost-efficient trade, and we do. So one hit to kill the KT, and of course we were able to stand up to that autocannon fire just long enough, but it did a decent bit. 3 frontal armors, really not amazing. And right away you can see a couple of things here. Mi-17 just hanging out in the back, not getting shot down. Ordinarily that close, it would be under threat, and it's not. And I'm pretty sure Oscar is seeing that and thinking about it, and we quickly killed a couple of charioteers, but that's charioteers, and now it's shown him my entire line. 2 A5s for Kenning, AMX 13 FL12s, and not much anti-helicopter. So keep that in mind when we go forward with this game, just because it is really, really important. So I'm moving up an H-64 escort, and the entire intention here was just to provide some anti-infantry killing power, because otherwise some of the lighter tanks can get hung up shooting at infantry, and I thought, okay, we'll bring him up. We'll just sort of screen out these woods while I get some infantry that are already on the way, and we might be able to do some sort of push toward there. And there's something heading over this way, but judging by the silhouette, it was a little bit hard to tell what it is. Again, that's maybe my own inexperience. Some of you guys might have been able to see it, but you can also notice there's a second Mi-17 on the left, and neither one of these is getting shot at, and one of them should be by now. That's sort of the expectation, is when you have helicopters up that far, they're going to get hit. That's why I've moved my escort back, because I was expecting something. And you can see one of the first buys from Oscar Mike is a helicopter to Salamandra. It's a really effective recon helicopter for Kokon M ATGMs, and yeah, the PWI is just a cheap thing to hit it with, but the Sokol and the Salamandra are up here, and neither one of them is getting shot at. So now it's going to be that sort of game. And my own deck composition, I have Hawk Hioses, and I have some of the cheaper quasi-Gepards, the Dutch version, and neither one of those is really long-range anti-helo. And more to the point, they're also expensive, don't have huge availability. Another thing too is as soon as I move these guys, Oscar can see them, so the Salamandra can pick up these Hakioses and all of that. Now, Natra and AMX Prees, this was sort of strategic. I was bringing them in directly into the Salamandra's line of fire, specifically to see if he had the Kokon M's microed well or not, and it turns out not really, so we are able to get a couple of wasted shots there on 5-point transports. Meanwhile, charioteers should get hit pretty hard, but my escort's way too far forward, and I get taken out by a Sokol. I thought it was an Mi-17, I didn't really see, because if you look back here, you can see the Salamandra, and the Sokol is behind it. It's kind of easy to see, but kind of not, and I will fully admit, I thought that was a different helicopter. So I rushed up my own 65-pointer, gets taken out without a second glance. You really can't afford that too much. Double T-72 M1 Wilk, and I wasn't too worried about that, but again, Mi-17's this far forward. Hakios is able to get a kill on the Salamandra, but this isn't good play of mine. That was bad play on behalf of my opponent, just sort of is how it is. Block 5, getting a bombing run, and this was because the Wilks were actually sort of pounding my 2A5 a little. I did lose some of my other tanks as well, like the Leopard for Kenning, and I really wanted to just sort of fend that off. But questionable buy. It's 120 points for a bomber that didn't really solve what needed to happen there. If I had waited a little bit, or if I had had better buys previously and been able to afford an ATGM plane, that's one trip in, dead tank or two, and down we go. So last missile from the Hios does take out the Sokol, and we've gotten some work done there, but this is interesting. So My Hioses have 1 missile left, I have not much of a hold on the right, and I'm pushing them forward on this side. This is, don't do this. So my intention was, if I get a 2A4 NL up here, if I have the Hawk Hioses up here, if I have Huzaren, and I can sort of build out this side, then the Hawk Hioses can anchor Fox and Golf, right? Because if they're right here, I can screen out helicopters where that Salamandra was, or the Sokol was, I can fend off helicopters and Foxtrot, but it's a little bit of a risk, because I don't really have too much recon over there already, and I don't know, I thought it was a little bit challenging. So I did also sort of probe forward. I lost some Natra for that to the Mi-17, but that's a cheap price to pay, and it did tell me that there is something holding in Bravo, while meanwhile the recon helicopter is getting me some vision on this side, and I don't know. I felt pretty good about this at the time. The Huzaren were forward, there's a Telakura 84, which that's a 40 points mortar, so if I could snipe a kill on that somehow, it would be kind of nice. I have some FL-12s, of course this is the recon tank, and this is just to pad out this side a bit more. I figured, you know, you have this, you have the 2A4NL, you have a couple of Hioses, and I have Rax here to give them more ammunition. I severely underestimated the amount of supply they would take, though, and that's another issue as well, and we'll see the cost of that pretty soon, but I was also just sort of probing on the left. No real success there, but at least it did tell me what I was up against, and the 2A4NL should be able to get a cheeky kill here on the Telekar, so at this point I was sitting back going, okay, well I have a decent hold in Golf, I have some pressure in Fox, I have some potential pressure in Bravo if I build it out, but I start to get a little overconfident. So the T-72M1s are right here. I didn't want to charge Natra forward for that because 13 AP power is not really enough, so what will happen is the Wilks will turn to face them, and I'll probably get stun locked and killed by 2 Wilks because a single Natra is just not that much of a threat. But this is a nice push from Oscar Mike. So we have BTR-50s leading the way, we have CCs on this side, and it's not a lot of heavy stuff, but it's making my 2A4 have sustained fire, and meanwhile, horrible facing. So the side angle is presented to my opponent on this side. If he brought in an ATGM plane, I'd really suffer, and this is not the most effective way to get anti-infantry kills at range with a 145-point tank. The better way to do it would be if I had the AMX-13s in position. You can see the Syria's right here, and my 2A4 does not have a mortar to cover him because here's the mortar, and I'm just a little bit late getting smoke into position, so it should be targeting, yes, right now. So smoke's on the way, but the Syria's too close, and we lose the 2A4. I mean, we got the Syria, but about a 25-point win for my opponent there. I guess it could be said that I have 4 of the 2A4s in the deck. He probably only has 2 Syrias at most. So that was sort of worthwhile, but my Vrak's out, my Hawk Hioses are moving back. There's no frontline screen in front of all of this, you know, all of those points in anti-air, and there's just a huge infantry push coming in. This is something that Oscar's really good at, and I definitely felt that during this game. So mortar should be getting into position on that side. I'm also getting some infantry forward, and the intention is to do the classic Bravo push. So just get some support, get more numbers, and grind through those trees. And this is something that Stu Troopin in particular are really good at because of the Mini-Me as well as that AT4, but I also kind of give away the game here a bit. So I have Corps Mariners that were headed up there. I wanted to get rid of the Wilks, but my reinforcement path was really not subtle. So what I should have done is reinforced into here, brought them up behind these trees, unloaded, and then pushed the infantry forward, and that would have prevented my opponent from seeing them quite so early and being able to retreat his tanks, which, as you can see, are all the way back here, just getting out of dodge. I have no long-range punch because Dutch don't have ATGMs, and I can't really punish him for that forward position in the woods. Instead, he knows where I am, and he knows reasonably what I have in it. AMX Prees do get kind of shot up on this side, but we're killing Yekri, the Mi-17, appears to be out of his S-13 rocket pods, so at least those were wasted on Natra. There are a couple things going in our favor, and I'm doing a bit of a numbers push on this side as well. So I have an H-64 Escort, I have an AMX-13 FL-15. This guy is the 58% accuracy, 13 rounds per minute tank, and I'm just using him as light fire support, but I don't know, it didn't feel cohesive to me, and that's something that really you should get used to. If it feels like a push is ill-advised, odds are there's something about it that you should be recognizing that makes it ill-advised. So we'll have to see how that turns out. And we were getting some good engagements on this side. Natra and Grenadiers just sort of overwhelming, and I did have to split my Stuttruppen because they got pounded a bit more than I would like. Apologies. So I'm going to be trying to retreat them back and get the Grenadiers forward, but I probably should have gotten another cheap unit of Stuttruppen up there to help. So my escort is scooching forward ever so slightly. I'm trying to get the rocket pods online to clear out this section of forest when the Grenadiers and the AMX Prees get a little bit more forward, and Grenadiers meanwhile just spreading out. I mean, I thought this was probably fine at the time. We're pounding into Yekuri, we're stunning the Yekuri and the BTRs, but there was nice artillery support on this formation. It's not going to get a lot of kills. It's a Rock 91, I believe. It's the Finnish Rock. That's the only one that Baltic has available to it for that sort of high HE MLRS. I was kind of surprised it took out 2 Grenadiers, but they're just in the open. So, I don't know. This was partially successful. It probably needed more numbers. The Grenadiers probably could have been Natra, and I could have gotten away with it. So I've actually taken Grenadiers out of the deck because I didn't feel like they were getting much use. Mi-8TKT, he's doing the same thing I am, basically, so rocket pods in that, and rocket pods in the escort. I think the KT, a bit cheaper, has a couple fewer rounds, and there are 2 of them here. But again, I don't have a lot of anti-helicopter, and my Hioses were retreated all the way back because I wanted to keep them safe. So it really would have been nice to have an anti-air gun on the ground. That would have sort of prevented some things from going wrong. And my tank, by the way, has been killed as well, so I don't have much support on that side of the map. We have cleared Bravo, and that is a reasonably good thing for me, so the Stutrippen holding there pretty well. I do need to get some resupply up and into the forest, but it could be going worse, and my escort gets a little bit hog wild here, taken out by, of all things, Iroquois Yekri. So it's something I didn't spot, it's something I should have expected. Always keep in mind what faction you're playing against. Baltic Motorized, all of that, you're going to see Iroquois Yekri, you're going to see a lot of them because they're really, really good. And they make excellent forward anti-air. That one group of Iroquois just got a 65-point kill. And now, my Hakioses have 6 rounds, let's see. That's going to be down to 5 rounds. All 3 of them are a swing and a miss at the first Sokol. And we get it, eventually, but now I'm out of ammunition here. And that should immediately mean that I retreat. Instead, I kind of do a little bit of a weird mosey over to the left, because I'd wanted to sort of project strength to the other KT. I should have realized he would have known I was faking that. It's not exactly subtle. And the Vroks are headed over to resupply here, so, it sort of is a bit of a giveaway there. The Wilks have been largely healed up, and now they're coming back in for a second round. I don't mind that too much. The 2A5 can kill Wilks all day, and we do get a nice engagement against Iroquois, but they got another kill. So they killed one of my FL-15s, that's 35 points. That matches the Iroquois, but, the 13 rounds a minute, that has some value as well. So, 2A5 NL going forward, but I get within range of the KT's rocket pods, and my Hakioses are stunned. They're barely resupplying here. It takes them a little while to do that. I don't know, it's sort of an odd thing with when they're fully out, when they're reloading a cycle, as opposed to just re-aiming in the middle of a cycle. Syria coming in and does get my 35-point tank. Not the best value there, and you can see that's what I was retreating my 2A5 from. It's also why I'm smoking, which is a little bit late on the smoke play as well. And once he realizes he can't get these guys to the seaplane, he just tells the Mi-8TKT to shoot. All it was. Standard autocannon, 3 75-point kills on dedicated anti-air because I couldn't keep them resupplied. So, if it sounds like I'm being overly harsh with myself during this game, that one engagement is part of why. Look at this section. There's an Mi-17, there's an Mi-8TKT. They're right over my supposed zone of control, and I can't really do much about it. There's even a seaplane out here that I had to buy a Block 15 to try and go after. This was the multi-purpose buy. I wanted to fend off some sort of airplanes and also potentially be able to threaten those Wilks, but as a result, I didn't get either. So I didn't get the Wilks, they're smoked up, and because I ran out of AMRAAMs, the seaplane got away. So a standard ASF would have probably gotten the kill there, and he's just circling with no ill effects. Yeah, it was really a rough game. It was back and forth a number of times, and now my 2A5 is getting... So this is interesting. The HE artillery isn't going to be able to get kills there, but panicked and stunned is worthwhile. It might have actually let the double Wilk kill me if I wasn't careful. So that's what I was trying to be careful about. There is also another plane in here. I had to assume that was Assyria. Not sure it was Assyria, but I had to assume that at the time, and that means the 2A5 is going to be retreating, and I'm going to try to be smoking this ridge, because, yep, there's at least one Wilk, and it was Assyria. So if I hadn't been undercover, if I hadn't been smoked, that would have been really brutal, and the Syria is around. Let's see what he can do. I'm at 8 strength, down to 3 strength, and saved by a miss. Don't rely on getting saved by a miss. It's not a good idea. It won't always work out well. And yeah, it's nice that I was able to retreat the 2A5 NL, but that's better lucky than good. So now, as opposed to holding Golf, pressuring Foxtrot, and having part of Bravo, I have Bravo, but I've lost Golf and I've lost Foxtrot. My Block 15 does get one of the Wilks, and that was sort of a saving grace to that engagement, so you're able to get in there, get the kill, and then get out. But I got severely damaged in there as well, so my block got, I think, down to a single point of strength left. It's part of why you should always bring gun AA, which, I didn't, I know, but I mean, part of my hobby here is pointing out when people do dumb shit, and today it was me doing the dumb shit, so, yeah, it is what it is. Huzaren do get a nice kill on Yekri. That was sort of nice to see. They're 15-point infantry, but the Yekri were just too badly damaged to deal with them like they ordinarily would have been able to. Stuttruppen do get some good kills as well, and this is just the cost of reinforcing a bit too far forward. So these Yekri probably would have been able to clear out the Stuttruppen had they been deposited correctly. When you're going into a contested Bravo, just unload in these trees and then push forward. It'll save you a lot of pain. I did actually lose my Vraks, they both got captured, and now I'm trying to get some infantry forward, but there's inadequate support here. I've lost way too many of the 35-point tanks, and I do have a couple out for base support, but this was just because I was afraid of some sort of flanking. I have the same thing on the left with the bow, and a couple of AMX Prees, but it could be a bit better fleshed out. This is really just early warning system, but not able to really get any kills. Syria 30 coming out again, and I was kind of impressed by how many he had or how often they were up, and then I realized it's because I'm not hurting them while they're in the air. So that is a big problem. He does just get a 5-point kill with it, so I'm not entirely sure that was worthwhile. But he was out there all the same. I did try to screen it out with the Cheetah Prandal, just a little bit too late. And you can see his rear fire support elements are making the difference. They're not letting me get up into these towns. They're making all of these Grenadiers and AMXs kind of sacrificial, which is really excellent play. Mi-8 TKT is far enough back to be safe, at least until that moment right there, and we do manage to take out one of the KTs. Which was, I don't know, it was this sort of whole battle, I suppose, I hate calling it that, but fight, was made up of small saving graces. Block 15 is evac ordered. I was going in after a tank, and I probably should have gone in after the anti-air, but instead I didn't get either, and I had to sort of send that on a one-way, not really great scouting mission. This is also another mistake. I know there's a Wilk right back here, and there he is, right there. I just went in to try to kill him, and now my ATGM plane is refueling. He's also getting healed because he took a hit. And these AMX-13s can't handle the Wilk. They just can't. It's just too big. And meanwhile, the Syria's flying cover are preventing me from getting my 2A5 far enough forward to do anything. There's actually two of them again because he's been reinforced. We did get one kill with it, but, you know. So the first problem is the Syria 30, and I'm trying to get him with an MLU, but it's all out of AMRAMs because I was shooting at the seed plane. We do get the seed plane, and then I get a lucky kill on the back of that Syria with the short-range AIM-9Ms and the Vulcan autocannon. So, again, I lost a lot of planes, but I lost a lot of stuff on the ground, but I did get 2 plane kills in the air, and that was kind of a nice feeling. His seed did take out my, well, off-brand Gepard, I suppose, so it wasn't exactly clean. But I lost about 100 points worth of stuff, and I probably got about 250 points worth of plane kills at that time. Still, it doesn't really win me the ground engagement. Golf is capped, and I'm making up for a 160-point deficit, so we're up to 56. We are taking it +1, but this hold is being whittled down. So Stuttruppen down to a single group there, my Vrakt, for some reason not really able to heal up the other. I still don't quite know why that was. They were right next to each other for a while. Not really sure, but the second I saw that double group of Iroquois, I realized I was in some deep shit. If I'm losing golf, if I'm, strapped for points because I'm buying expensive planes, because I'm buying constant reinforcements for this side, if I get pushed in Bravo by a couple of Iroquois right now, I'm just toast. So Stuttruppen should already be moving back, and they're not. And because of that, they're stunned, they're getting killed, they're getting ground down. If I, the second they were spotted by the Iroquois, just pulled them back, I'd have that group back here, I'd have them healed up by the Vrakt, and we'd be able to hold off a little bit better in defense. The UH-14 is honestly just to tell me if they're moving forward. So he's back here, shouldn't be within range of the Iroquois in the town, but yeah, messed that up a little bit. So he is, and does unfortunately die. We're using up the anti-air missiles, which is kind of okay, but I don't know, never give your enemy anything for free. So I'm getting some reinforcements in on the ground. The YPRs are going to be carrying more Stuttruppen. I need something reasonable, and the Mini-Me in particular, to handle Iroquois Yekri, because they do have elite training after all. They'll chew through Natra like it's, their job, which I guess it kind of is. And there's really just a huge infantry reinforcement going into Bravo right now. I basically said to myself, you know what, screw golf for just a minute. In order to keep my +1, I need to keep Bravo, and I'm under threat of losing Bravo right now to my opponent. And if I do that, there's only 17 minutes left in the match. That very much means, well, possible in the match, that very much means I might be able to just be sitting here at a +0 for a while, not able to do anything about it. Huzaren and the WPIs just trying to get eyes on what's going on here. I thought Maybe if I could get eyes on the Wilks if they were pushed forward, because I thought they were, then I could have gone in and gotten ATGMs. Instead, I did just lose a couple more things, basically for free. And you can see now I'm buying some recon for the right-hand side around Hotel, not realizing I already have an AMX-13 over here that I should be pushing up to the woods right there, and using that to screen off the entire side. So, again, another little bit of a mistake. 2A4 NL buy, and the idea here is I have infantry now in Bravo. They're going to retake this zone and recapture that forward hold, and in order to complement that, I need to put pressure on Golf. One of the mistakes people make oftentimes early on, and I do this as well, is they'll only push in one location at one time. And what this means is it becomes sort of a ping-pong back and forth from one side of the screen to the other with who's reinforcing where and when. And, you know, there's a fight here, and then people call in reinforcements, and they fight over here, while the reinforcements arrive, and they fight over here again, while they're reinforcing on the western side. And you don't really want to do that. You want to be pushing your opponent on all sides at all times. That way, they have to make the decision, okay, where do I send the reinforcements? Where do I try and get that engagement to be good? And then, consequently, where do I lose the engagement in other places? Make your opponent choose where they're going to lose, because then they're losing somewhere. It doesn't matter if they chose the place that you wanted. So, Block 15, evac ordered. I called out both because I got a little overzealous, and this, my evac key sort of failed. So, yeah, not great. Lost the OCU for free, didn't get the Wilks. MLU is coming in to try and get that MiG-29, and I get taken out by the MiG and by anti-air on the ground. I think it was actually Iroquois that got the kill, and I traded both of those planes for a single cheap air superiority fighter, really sort of undoing the good work I had done previously, getting 2-1, well, 2-0 anyway, plane kills. So, really not great there, and I've lost one of my most important tools to take out those Wilks. It does add some importance to having the 2A5 and the 2A4 on the ground. So, Stuttruppen are holding, we're killing the XA-180s. I realize they're going to be spotted, but I wanted those guys dead. They're 10 points apiece, which isn't exactly cheap, and the Stuttruppen are cycling back, trying to get out of the line of fire, while Grenadiers go up and should be able to handle it with the M72 Laws. That at least was the idea. Anyway, we'll see if it works. KT is pounding my Grenadiers into submission and really just showing off the Bushmaster 2 autocannon, and my Natra have arrived. So this is something you'll see decently often in open zones. The idea is basically I have a bunch of AMXs, I have 2 heavy tanks, I'm going to throw the cheap AMXs and cheap Natra, militia anyway, forward and see what happens. But this is something that I should have noticed and I didn't. Double XA-180 making a beeline right for this town. Would anyone care to guess what's in there? Because my money is on ATGMs, and my money is on, I should have guessed, that was ATGMs. Golf has also been secured. That means 134 points to 161 and 15 minutes possible left to go. Now, one mistake is not realizing it was ATGMs until just then. The second is not immediately smoking, because if I smoke, if I break that line of sight, ATGM teams are very fragile, and I can get the kills with AMX Prees and Natra in close range. Instead, my AMX Prees are in front of my Natra because I didn't unload them properly. This push is getting a little bit out of control, and I take a pounding on the 2A4's frontal armor, which is thankfully reasonably decent, 19, versus I believe Spikes have 20 or 21, I think it's 21, armor piercing. And we're using up a lot of their ATGMs, but I'm paying for it in AMX Prees, I'm paying for it in PWIs, things that I don't really want to lose, and that adds up. These guys, even if it's just chip damage against the AMXs, have done their job. Now the Natra have to do theirs. My AH-64 escort double squad, which I called in for God knows what reason, have to do good work as well. I mean, there's been tons of anti-air here the whole game, and I decided to spend 130 points on escorts. Great thinking, Black Knight. Great job. I'm sure nothing's going to go wrong. Bomber does come in, and we pound the ATGM team. That did actually get the kill there, which is very nice, but that really wasn't the best way to do it. Ito 90's hunting after my AH-64 escorts and gets 1 kill for free. The other one's trying to move back, but helicopters don't respond immediately. They do sort of have to change their momentum before they can go, and this guy gets pounded, although is still alive. Yeah, really not the best engagement there. Ito 90 is spotted. I could have tried to hit that with artillery if I had artillery, but I didn't buy artillery despite having good artillery available. Who knows why. And I'm trying to get the kill on the Ito 90 with an F-84F. This guy is really slow, and right then I lose line of sight, so he's turning, and now I get taken out by a Neva. One shot, second shot, 0% ACM means that is going to be a kill. So I've just lost a ton of value trying to get in here and trying to save this side of the field. Meanwhile, there's a big push. KTs and Yekri heading into Bravo on the little right-hand side of Bravo. I don't have a lot of troops there. I did lose a fair bit resecuring this side, and my long-range Leopard counterfire is only moderately effective. Bushmasters are just slaughtering my men meanwhile, and we do have eyes on the 2 Wilks. So this was pretty good. Both of them are not up to par with the 2A4 and the 2A5. That's one kill. Second one's at full strength until that shot comes in, and the 6 remaining strength should be taken out by 2A5 NL. Unfortunately, I lose my block 5, but we do get the bombs in, and we take out, I believe anyway, the Ito 90. That did sound like an explosion, and lots of explosions there. We did, I think, get the kill on that side, because it's listed in my plane's kill list anyway. But enemy plane is alive. My plane, I don't think, made it out, so that's another cost to doing business. And, I don't know, the 2A4 and the 2A5 are a little bit exposed. Now, I don't really have anti-air cover, I don't really have much of an infantry screen left, and his push into Bravo has been reasonably effective. I was kind of scared about this. The AMX Prees are fending off a KT, which is never something that you have to want to deal with, and want to have to deal with, rather. And Stuttruppen and Grenadiers won't be able to hold this ridgeline forever, because the Yekri are one thing, but there's fire support in here as well, and it's chewing through Stuttruppen like there's no tomorrow. In the meantime, a Salamandra is up hunting for the 2A4 and the 2A5, one missile away, thankfully blocked by the smoke, and I'm pulling back through the smoke, which is, I guess, the best option I had available, and also killing the Iroquois on the right-hand side, which, it was nice. I think we do get the kill there in just a second. No, actually, missing. Oh, come on. You have one job, and we do get it done. So that was pretty nice, but I have no answer to the Salamandra. There's also ZSUs, and I don't know if you spotted it there, just for a brief blip, we were able to spot Oscar Mike's command vehicle. That's important. Now I know where it is, now I know it's not over here. I sent the knife throw over there just in case it was, because I've seen that before, it's kind of tricky. Most people expect it in that section of woods on the left. So if you defy expectations, that's always nice. And the Salamandra has used all of his Kokons and is moving back. Block 15, I was trying to get the command vehicle, I couldn't quite get him, and I couldn't quite get the ZSUs either, so that's going to be evac ordered very unsatisfactory, and dead. Horrible, horrible call on my part, should never have been called in for that. H-64 escorts and the Leopards can take care of it. This is something interesting too, so I was forced to drive into the Salamanders. I'm manually right-clicking, making sure that they have their frontal armor facing the incoming ATGMs. And the whole purpose of this is the observation that the Kokon Ms have 22 armor piercing. My 2A5 has 22 frontal armor, the 2A4 is 19. So at most they're going to do maybe 2-3 points of damage to the 2A4, but if they hit the 2A5, that's a single point of damage each. That's the best way I can weather these, and the 2A4 is reversing directly away from the Salamandra, who does appear to be out of missiles. And now 2A5 also trying to keep that line of sight from the Salamandra in a good position. But instead I'm taking rocket pod fire, and I apologize, there's a tiny little bit of, well, we'll see. Anyway, Sokol is moving up, my H-64 escort's just sitting here like an absolute chump, and is moving back, but it's a little bit too late, and I lose another helicopter, sort of needlessly. 2A5's weapons jammed is kind of funny, honestly. That's the most that the Salamandra and the KT could do without more Kokon Ms, but this is not a good situation to be in. It's making the best of a bad play on both sides. The 2A5 should be taken out by ATGMs by now. The fact that he wasn't means that my opponent wasn't saturating the side of the field with enough spikes, because you put one here, and the Leopard 2A5's dead. It's just how it is. In the meantime, my 2A4 gets a little bit ahead of himself, Panzer Yekri holding the forest, and my weapons jammed on the 2A5 means I can't support. If they hadn't missed, my 2A4 would be dead. 145 points down the drain, when I have Stuttruppen right behind that could have easily just ran up and gotten the job done. F-84F does get a nice kill, and I mean, we are able to sort of save this position, but it was a very close run thing. A single man left in my Stuttruppen units, and we do get the kill. Just very ugly once again. Salamandra's trying to go after the 2A5, and this time he reasonably could, except the depth of the forest here is preventing him. So you can see him immediately retreating away from that, trying to keep frontal facing, as a couple of those Kokons go in after YPRs. Stuttruppen get the kill, and that means Golf is decapped. But that's not the end of my troubles. There's another MiG circling, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to securely hold Bravo, and it can turn very ugly very quickly. Cheetah Prandtl back here trying to screen out the Salamandra and a couple other things, and the Stuttruppen also moving forward, just because if they can get the Mini-Me online, that can kill a Salamandra pretty quickly. It's a very fragile helicopter, but instead we get some kills there in the woods, he knows that I'm there, and the Salamandra is going to be moving back on that side. Iroquois, here's one thing where I'll fault Oscar a little bit more than myself in this one. If the Iroquois had supported that initial push, odds are I would have lost Bravo. So that did make the difference there, I think. 2A4, meanwhile, has been healed up, or no, is about to be healed up by these Vraks, and is just sitting there pounding away at some KTs. That's pretty nice work. They also do pound into the Iroquois with an F-84, which I just thought was kind of funny, because they're supposed to take them out. And he didn't. I don't know, it was kind of goofy. Those planes, I'm not really sure that I should be calling them in as much as I am. The 2A4 has a new target to PT91 Twardy. Now this is a bit more of a meaty threat to deal with. 22 AP power, 20 frontal armor, decent accuracy, and stabilizer. But his first shot was a miss, which kind of surprised me a little bit until I saw just 57 accuracy there. And now he's switched over to the 2A5. That's what caused the accuracy spike, is the range. But even if he gets a hit, the 2A5 can take him out. And then we do get a kill on a helicopter just in time to save my YP408. So, I don't know. Capping Golf here was nice, killing the Twardy was nice, but this game just could have been so much cleaner than it was, and a lot of those mistakes were unforced errors. And, you know, that's how you lose games, is unforced errors. At least make your opponent be the one to make you mess up, and in this case I didn't quite have the good play to do that. So, we are intercepting another push from Oscar Mike, and with that he's going to retreat. Let's take a look at the kills and losses. 3280 to 2860. Bigger separation than I expected, given that I threw away a couple of planes. But if I hadn't made those bad decisions, if I hadn't lost, 225 points of anti-air for no reason, this would be a really different number. I would have had a much, much, much cleaner game to show you guys. So, Leopard Verkenning got some good kills. I was really happy with each of the FL12s. I mean, a KT, a Charioteer, and a Yekri, that more than pays for himself. That's what, 35, 45 points. And that was for a 30-point recon tank, so another 15 points on top of the buy price. 2A5 NL there, the whole game did get a whole page worth of kills, so Wilk, double Wilk, triple Wilk, Twardy, Telecoder 84, whole bunch of good stuff there. I was really lucky that we kept him alive. Hawkioses got some value, a couple of helicopters and a couple of planes, and the Stutroopen, as always, did very well indeed. Probably most surprising, honestly, was the Natra. I mean, look, that's a BTR 50, Panzer Yekuri 90, XA180, and a Spike team, all off of a single militia, man. I mean, hey, sometimes you get lucky. But that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.